Hello everyone and welcome back to Moonacre. So, I have been diagnosed with inattentive ADHD, but I do plan to release more videos sooner than the 2 or closer to 2.5 years it's been since I put out my last video. But anyway, today we're going to be decorating the airport entrance going up to resident services. So as you can see, I already started decorating it, but I wanted to add a lot more clutter and even more mushrooms than are already going on. I really like that from the entrance of the airport to resident services, it's a nice straight line. I find that very satisfying, but because it's only 8 tiles long, it's quite a small space, so I wanted to change up the path to a customed 9 tile path to make the space look a bit bigger and a bit more visually interesting. So we're starting off with removing the old path to then add the new path. I heard that when you have a small space, if you add a more winding path and make the player, or at least the eye, follow a more complicated route than just a straight path, it can make this space seem longer and bigger than it actually is, and so I'm hoping that is achieved here, but even if it's not, I like the added visual interest of the twisty turny path. And it's an autumnal path because even though I'm in March right now, my goal is to save the dream address in autumn when all of the leaves are turning colour to those nice oranges and reds and browns. And I think this looks so much better already, but I think there are a lot more custom designs and other things we can add. So I wanted to make this area pretty much symmetrical on either side, but I've added a few different things to make it a little more interesting. So on this side I added the bird skull, and on the right side I added the ram skull. I really liked both designs and I didn't want to have to choose between them, so I thought, why not both? And then I downloaded some more custom designs to go under the moss lamps. I couldn't decide if I wanted the moss or the fern, so I tried both and I decided the moss looks better. And then I was just sort of going around adding a lot more custom designs, both of the green lush variety and of mushrooms. And then I am replacing these lanterns with street lamps, both so that they can match the street lamps on the Plaza of Resident Services itself, and also to match the street lamps around town in Laverre City, which is the main inspiration for this part of the island. I thought that was looking really good, but at this point I had sort of run out of ideas of what else I wanted to add for this bit, so instead I am moving on to behind resident services area. I want the resident services building to look like the Laverre City gym, which is built into the trunk of a tree. So to replicate or make that look visually similar, I'm adding some cliffs behind resident services so that I can then put some trees on there that can be poking out behind the resident services building. Because I didn't want to add, I really didn't want to have much cliff behind resident services at all. So at first I started with tree standees because they're thinner than actual trees. They don't need to take up as much space, with the idea being that I could only use 1 or 2 tiles of cliff space deep. And then I arranged all these standees, I got them looking nice, and then it ended up they weren't even visible, so that was a bit frustrating. Took them all down, and then I tried putting up some other items to see if they would instead be visible on the first level of cliffs, but nothing was, so I ended up having to build a second layer of cliffs to elevate everything to make it visible behind the resident services building. And this time I added just 1 tree standee. I didn't want to put all that effort in before finding out if it did or didn't look good, and it did look good, but at this point, because I had several tiles deep cliff anyway, I thought why not just put real trees instead of the tree standees. I did that off camera because it took me a while to work out how to do it with the tree glitch, and then I added some tree standees on the lower cliffs to poke out around the sides. And I thought that looked really good, so time to get rid of the extra cliffs. Except this item is a 2 tile wide item, so I had to pull them in a bit. They weren't so visible, but I thought at this point the cliffs are a big feature, so they can be seen when walking around the cliffs. And then I put the tree and the mush stool back on both sides for that symmetry. I also decided to put a mushroom platform up on the top of the cliffs, which again is not very visible, but it can be seen walking around the back of the cliffs. And then I wanted to add some more decorations on the side, so we put some mush partitions there. I really liked how that looked, so I thought we'll try a second one, but I wasn't such a fan of that. I preferred it when there was just the one centered between the 2 trees. So instead I planted a weed behind the mush stool, which isn't visible at the moment, but when the weed grows in and becomes taller, it will be visible poking out from behind the mush stool. And I think that looks really cute. I love the mushrooms and the trees, and it looks all nice and full and foliagey. And I also think it's very convenient that the resident services building has a clock on it to match the clock above the gym at Laverre City. Doing the paths here, I wanted to again change them to the 9 tile path. I didn't add much on this side because I'm not sure where I want this path to go at the moment, so I just started it off. But on this side, I want it to lead down to my player house, and I'm planning to build a little village around there, so this path is going to be leading down to there. I had some trouble placing down the path correctly for this bit. There is a certain order that the path gets placed down in, but I don't quite have that in my brain yet. But it wasn't too hard to fix. And now I'm just getting some extra trees to finish filling in the pathway from the airport to resident services. So now we're placing down some more weeds and mush lamps. Can never have enough mush lamps. To fill in the space between the trees. Although these two in a straight line, lined up like that, was not it. So I had to scooch this one over just by a tile. And then for that symmetry again, doing the same on the other side. And then I was just going in and adding a few more custom designs, weeds, things like that, in between the trees to make it look nice and full and give it a nice, lush forest floor look to it. And that is it. I really love how cute and whimsical this turned out. I think that the custom designs added a really lovely amount of detail to the area, and I think that the resident services building came out really cute, and I like how much it looks like the Laverre City gym, as much as that can be done in Animal Crossing. Thank you so much for watching. As I mentioned in the beginning, I do have plans to release another video before the next 2 years, probably within the next month, so subscribe if you want to catch that. It's going to be a crafting video. Please also check out my island inspirations video if you want to see the inspirations for the island and what I plan to do on it. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye!